Happy Sunday. I am Renee Jackson, your host of Navigating the Gap, and I am super excited. We have two special guests today, and I've been talking about them, so hopefully you guys are excited also. We have Randall and Kimberly Johnson. They are the founders of the Lazarus Project, and we've been talking about it. You guys have to go back for the last 2 weeks. Randall has been telling us his story and how um, what was on his heart to start the Lazarus Project. Well, today we are going to get to hear from Kimberly and how she started, and her passion and what brought her to this point. So, hey guys, how are you doing today? Welcome, Kimberly and Randall. I'm talking to y'all.
Hey, hey, doing good. How are you?
Good, 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 good. So I want to just jump right in because we have been waiting for this to happen. We've been talking about today, and Kim, I think that a lot of people are very curious of how you, and we're talking about trauma today, and we're going to talk about recovery and all of that. So in order to get started, I'd love to begin with this question. Something you're really excited about or passionate about right now, and what led you to that? I know it's just to get us warmed up and started.
Heads up would have been good on that question.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
what's my passion right now? Mm, it's
yeah.
funny because I never would have saw this on my bingo card, but I think probably caregiving, and it's a long about way how I came about to, in a sense, be a caregiver. But right now, I think that's where it is, and God has given me a empathy that I didn't know I had. He's
Hmm.
and just the thoughtfulness and the care in itself. I didn't know I had it in me. So I believe right now that's what I'm supposed
Really?
to do is caregiving.
That is so funny and interesting to me that you would say I didn't know I had it in me.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't.
So what is that thing that you've discovered that you're like, oh, I can do this?
Mm. I well, funny is I can sort of correlate it back to Randy and the hospital and this whole aortic aneurysm because during that time and prior to this happening, I just felt my walk with God. It was in this place. And I was saying the things that I was saying to him was like, God, I don't like people. And and how can I serve people if I don't have any empathy? How can I be your servant if I can't truly show your love? And that's where I was. Those are just being honest, those are the things that I was saying to God. And it was like I can't stand people right now. They are I don't want to talk about people. I want to talk about I want to keep the focus on me. But I just felt like, Lord, I don't have empathy. I don't see it. I don't know where it is, but I just don't feel like I have it. And that's what I have been saying to God, literally, like right before everything with Randy happened. So that's how I sort of got on this, I guess, sort of this road in a sense.
Okay.
And I hope
Okay.
that answered the question. I'm not
No,
sure.
absolutely it did. I mean, because and I like, and it's funny that you were talking to God about that, and before you even came to today talking about your, being a caregiver and not knowing you even had that in you. Let's go back to even before you are standing next to the bedside of your husband and everything he was going through. I want to ask you to take us back to that point. Let's go back to that right after your conversation with God. Take us back to the beginning, like that experience in your own words, and how it shaped the person you are today, or ultimately led you towards this recovery work?
Oh, that could be lengthy. Where do I don't even know where to start because of course I found him. He was outside doing something for me, and when I came to him, and he was just like throwing up blood as he was walking towards me, and he's
Mm,
outside on our patio, and by the time he got to the step, blood is literally just pouring out of his mouth, and
my
I
goodness.
still didn't know what was happening. I just knew, hey, I need to get you to the hospital. And we have a very small hospital, literally like 2 minutes from us, around the corner from us. And so when he said, okay, I knew this was kind of serious because there is no way he would have ever said agreed that easily or that quickly to just go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so I, of course, I took him right to this very small hospital around the corner from us, and thank God, there was really no waiting. They kind of took us right back. I told them what was going on, and
Okay.
they sort of immediately started doing tests, and they immediately actually put him under. They wanted him. They did not want him awake. They wanted whatever test that they were, and they may have known what was happening. I don't know, but they didn't reveal any of that to me, but they
Okay.
immediately put him under. They called their big main hospital, and that hospital was like, do these tests and get him in the ambulance and get him down here immediately. And
Wow.
so, yeah, they were just like, okay, you just follow the ambulance and you just go. They're just saying for us to get him here. And so,
Yeah.
even with
Yeah.
all of this, I still kind of didn't know. I had no idea what was happening, what was going on. I was just sort of going
Mm.
along with what they're telling me to do.
Yeah.
um, and I end up going to the wrong hospital.
Oh
And
my
while I'm at,
goodness.
yeah,
Wait,
I
so
was at
he
the wrong.
went they took him in the ambulance
They took,
to a hospital, and you went to a
yes,
different.
I did because they what they took him to Lords, but when they were saying the hospital, I heard Cooper. And Cooper
Mm,
and Lords are literally like 5 minutes away from each other. Cooper is this huge, big billion-dollar hospital that they put all this money in.
right.
Lords is the main hospital to this small one around near us, but that's their main hospital. So they were taking him there. All I heard was Cooper. And so
Right.
when the ambulance told me that I could not follow them, I just drove straight to Cooper. And I
Okay.
get there, and of course, he's not there. And I was like, well, there's no way he can't be here before us. He has to be here.
You
And
had to be going crazy.
you know what? I was still very calm because again,
Mm.
I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. So as I'm walking to my car, the phone, my someone calls me and I answer, and it's Lords, and they were like, "Hello, Miss Johnson. Your husband coded 3 times.
Oh
Would
my
you like us
Jesus.
to do everything that we can to save his life?" And at this point, I'm like, "What?
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Do whatever you
Wow.
can to save his life. Yes." And
That's a phone
I
call.
that's a phone call. And I don't know if anyone's ever received a phone call like that. I don't even know what the response is supposed to be. But what I know is I was getting in my car and I was telling God, Lord, this cannot be the end. I don't even know what this means, but this does not feel like the end to me. And I'm just talking to him. I was like, Lord, I don't know what death feels like, but this does not feel
Mm.
like death to me. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know what you're doing, but this doesn't, and I just kept saying, this doesn't feel like death to me.
Wow.
And so,
That's-
of course, before I get to Lords, they call me again and they're like, where
mm.
are you? We need you to get here. And by this time, I was in the emergency room and they were like, get up here. And when I
Oh
got
my
there,
goodness.
I got in the elevator and I get to the floor
Uh-huh.
and the doctor's waiting for me, and he's just like, he's still coding. What he said is, the only thing that's keeping him alive is medication. There's nothing else we can do.
Oh
And
my
that's all I
goodness.
heard was, there's nothing else we can do.
Oh,
um I believe at this time I was on the phone with my sister, And she said,
Okay.
I just started screaming and the phone hung up. And so she thought that he was dead because,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yes.
there's I have blocks in here because I don't know. I have no idea about time, but I know
Yeah.
I they took me to his room, and this surgeon came in, and she just looked and she said, "How do you want us to go in? We're going to go in and repair his heart. Do you want me to go and crack his heart open, or do you want me to go through his groin?" And I just said, "Go through his groin." And she said,
Hmm.
"Okay, well, we're going to get the
And
room
how would
together."
you even know how to answer that question?
I don't. I don't. It was. I. All I could say is, um, do throughout the entire time, and all I said is, God was with me. God
Mm.
was with me in ways that I still can't fathom. The walking me through. I mean, and you talk about God saying turn left and turn right, like being that specific. That's how
Wow.
God was with me during this time. Um, I'm not saying that that happens all the time, but during
Right.
this whole entire ordeal with
But
Randy,
that's not an ordinary
it
phone
wasn't.
call or
No,
ordeal.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. Yeah. Um, again, I have some blank spots in here. I have no recollection of time in here. But
Mm.
at one time, after this surgeon said we're going to go through his heart, and they kept telling me that, you know,
Yeah.
only thing that's keeping him alive is these machines. He coded like maybe two more times in front of me,
Oh my
and
Jesus.
at one point, everybody that was in there working on him all started packing their gear up and leaving. And
Really?
so, yeah, so I'm saying, oh my God, he keeps coding. Does this mean that they're not going to do the surgery because everyone had packed up everything? And this one doctor came in and he was just like, just talk to him, start talking to him. And so at this point, I think our pastor was with us. And so we're talking and we're praying and we're just talking to him. And I was just, I love you, we love you, we
Yeah.
need you, just talking to him
Yeah.
so because he could still hear us. And
Right.
so we were just talking to him
Definitely.
and just, encouraging him and just talking and everything. And again, I was scared because they had packed up all of their gear. I didn't know what was happening. And next thing you know, that one surgeon came back. She said, "We're 10 minutes out, but the room, everybody's ready. We're going to go in and we're going to repair that heart." And
Oh
so,
my.
yeah, so that's what they did. That's what
So
they
the
did.
packing up, do you think that was them saying, "Okay, we're gonna go"? They made a decision to go and do the surgery anyway. Was that what the packing up was about?
Yeah, it was more of we don't have to continue to do these life resuscitation things that we are all doing because they are still going to go and do the surgery. And so they had
Okay.
already made the decision to do the surgery. And so I think that packing up was okay, we are no longer needed, but they are going to still do this surgery. So yeah,
Okay.
because I mean they had someone looking at his lungs. They had someone every aspect, lungs, heart. I mean every I guess organ. They had someone, I don't even know because I'm not as but I think
Yeah.
someone was working trying to do something with every organ. So and it was about six people, and to see them just like systematically packing their bags, packing their gear, that was in itself like what is going on. But
Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
went? What do you think went through your mind at that time when they were, you know, because you've mentioned a couple of times about them packing everything out like it's very significant to you. Like, what do
It,
you think was going on in your mind?
oh, I know exactly what was going on in my mind. Was I know this lady said that they were going to do surgery, but when I saw them starting to pack up all of their gear, I was like, okay, God, I guess they can't save them then. I guess this is not happening. If, if they're saying, this one doctor said the only thing that was keeping him alive is the procedures and all of this medication that they were pumping in him. And now that they're taking it out, I just start saying, okay, God, I guess they can't. I guess they can't save him now. So that's
Right.
literally what was going through my mind. Yeah.
And I know I don't know if this is a question that you can answer, but right after you all were talking to him, do you remember, like, do you feel like you were encouraging him to stay here, or do you feel like you were just saying whatever came to your mind? Like, what was your like, what were you kind of focused on when they said talk to him?
For me, it was just letting him know that I loved him, how much I loved him, that, your whole family loves him, love you. I know words that I was saying, we need you here. You still have a work to do. God still wants you to be here. I was saying stuff like that. Um,
Mm,
I don't believe God is finished with you. Those are the
yeah,
words that I was saying. Yeah.
powerful, powerful, powerful words. Wow, that is amazing. Now, I want to say this because you started the conversation, so I'm just going to touch back there for a second about before all of this happened with the medical incident you all faced together, and you were talking to God about your passion, and do you have this passion? Now that night you mentioned calling your sister, but you called a few people that night about updating the status about him. Do you remember that? Do you remember calling
No.
people and saying this is what's going on and pray? Do you remember any of that?
You know what? I honestly don't, because I didn't even remember that I was on the phone with my sister. I don't, and my first thought was, did I call you? Did she call me? I have no idea. I
Right.
don't, I don't recall how I was even on the phone. I didn't even remember I was on the phone with her. And so, no, I don't remember calling. I don't remember calling anyone.
Wow.
Yeah, no, no. And these are things that I say are, there's some things that are still a blank and are a blur to me, that I literally don't I don't remember, because I know, I remember during this time, like, our pastor was there, and he was in the room with me, and when
Okay.
they were taking him down, I didn't all this time his wife was sitting out in the lobby waiting. I had no clue she was out there, and she's like, "You don't remember? You came out there. We were sitting together. I had no
Wow.
idea. It was a
Wow.
complete blank." Yeah.
That is amazing. I think it's even hearing you say like some things you didn't hear, but I mean, I listen. I want to insert myself in this story, but I definitely got a call that night from you, and
Oh,
two calls. I talked to you two times that night, and
really?
for you to say that, I don't want to cry here, but I'm just thinking about you saying about not knowing about your passion when you were going through something so no words for it, what you're explaining, and to say you were calling people and saying, "Hey, this is happening. Prepare yourself." Like you were reaching out and to others in the
Mhm.
middle of all of that going on. So, um I think the point is that sometimes we don't know what's inside of us. Like
No.
we really have to allow God to show it to us. So I'm gonna ask you, like, after like the surgery happened, after that
Mhm.
surgery happened, what was for you the hardest part emotionally? And I don't know if the surgery is like significant in were you halfway past this journey or was that just the beginning? So you can take us a little further into the journey and then you can talk about emotionally how was this for you?
I think probably, I would say in the beginning, the hardest part probably was the unknown. And I think no matter what it is for me, it's always the unknown, which is the hardest thing for me to deal with. And I say the unknown because I don't know also if you remember during this time, like, this started on a Monday. By Tuesday morning, they had done the surgeries and everything. And Thursday, I believe, of that week, they had to go back in and they had to, like, basically power wash his lungs, clear all this mucus, I mean, all this dry blood and stuff off his lungs, because his lungs were starting to collapse.
Mm,
Um, but I also believe, I think it was that after that surgery on Thursday, they woke him up. So he was awake that first weekend. And I don't know if you remember this, but he was awake and he was sitting up and he was, trying to talk and everything. But
Uh-huh.
then he wouldn't go back. He was awake on Saturday. I do remember that. And he wouldn't go back to sleep. He
Mm.
wouldn't go to sleep at all. And I kept saying, please go to sleep. And the nursing staff was trying to convince him, you have to go to sleep, because if you don't, you are going to damage the heart that we just repaired. You have to go to sleep. He would
Wow.
not go to sleep. And at this point, I was staying at the hospital like round the clock. I was sleeping there and everything. And so
Yeah.
this one, I believe it was Saturday night, I said, you know what? I'm going to go home because I want you to go to sleep. And as long as I'm here, you're not going to.
Oh
And
my goodness.
so that because he wouldn't, make himself go back to sleep, that's when they put him back out. They put him under, and
Okay.
that's when the whole coma happened again on Monday. And that's when I believe it was like the 42 days of him just being in a coma, like actually started. So it was, for me, it was like, okay, God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think probably that was the absolute hardest part for me, is just not knowing. And he's just gone. Just, I don't want to say gone, because that's not what I mean, and I was about to say that, but he's just out. He's just,
Yeah.
in a coma, basically.
So you know what was that drive like when you were like, he won't go to sleep, and probably the only way he's going to do it is if I go home and go to sleep myself? What was that, leaving the hospital, driving yourself home just because you knew he needed you to do, not to do that? Like, what was
Yeah.
that like? Do you remember any part of that
I don't
drive
remember
home or
that
anything?
part specifically, but during this time, I didn't know what was to come, because he's awake. I'm thinking, okay, he's awake, and he's going to,
Okay.
things are just going to progress and go
Yeah.
from there. So I had no clue that when I came back, that they would have to induce him into a coma. I had no clue of that. So
Okay.
it was kind of like, I saw all of this unfold. Then I thought, oh, we're getting into a good place. We're getting to a place that, he's better or getting better. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, no, he's in a coma now.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so no, I don't have no any real recollection of that, but I do believe that I just thought we were going in the good direction. And so
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So you felt enough relief off of
yeah,
yourself that you
yeah,
could at least leave the hospital, and at the same time you felt like it was. So when you come back to the hospital and you realize that they had to, he didn't just go off to sleep, they had to
no,
is that what the induced coma was about? Like they had to
it
put him in
was
in a state.
right.
How was that? What was that? I know we heard about the coma, and it had been, what was it, was it 11 days or longer?
The days that he was in the coma,
Yeah.
um, I think I think we said, what was it,
42.
42 days, I believe, something
42
like
40
days.
that.
42 days.
I
42
believe
days.
so.
And
Yeah.
Renee, do you mind if I interject something?
No, 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 no. It's
Okay.
y'all
All right.
story. It's y'all
I
story.
I thought, I wanted to give Kim a chance to get it out. I want to just go back to when in the emergency room, when they were packing up. Uh, the reason they were packing up is because my blood pressure had dropped so low they couldn't do the operation. My kidneys had already stopped functioning, and they said that this was what they call the death spiral, when your major organs begin to shut down. My
Oh my
kidneys
goodness.
had shut down. My blood pressure was too low. The lungs were not collapsed, but they were still filled with so much blood, because when the aortic aneurysm happened, the heart was still pumping, but the blood was being pumped into my lungs and not being circulated around my body. So they were filling me with a lot of liquid to keep the blood in my, or to keep the liquid in my body, plasma blood in my body. So that's the reason they were packing up, because if I had coded again, there was nothing they could possibly do. And this is what I was told by the doctor back in July when I woke up, when they brought me out of the coma, pardon me, is that was the miracle. He said, Mr. Johnson, the miracle was, and this is the doctor, that your blood pressure just shot up. And that's why we were able to take you up to the surgery, up into surgery, is because you had enough blood pressure, which that can only be a miracle. Because it
Wow.
was, yeah, they didn't do that. That was that along with the different coding, but that was just God. Like when everything else was done, they had the people to do the operation. They were keeping me alive, but they couldn't do anything else. Then God stepped in with the blood pressure spiking.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness. That was one of the first things that the doctor told you when you came out of the coma 42 days later.
not just the doctor, but several nurses told me the same thing. And the one person that I remember was when they brought me out of the coma, they had to keep a trach in my throat, so I couldn't speak. I'm laying there, I can't speak.
Right.
But a paramedic, a gentleman came to the door of my room. He walked halfway in, and he's talking to me because I was awake. He said, "Listen, Mr. Johnson, I didn't work on you, but I was in the emergency room when they brought you in that night. And now I came back and I was bringing somebody in today and I asked about you. And they said you made it. And I had to walk up here to see that you
Wow.
were alive. And because of the way you looked when they brought you in, I didn't think you would make it." And then he says, "I don't know if you believe in miracles, sir, but it was a miracle that you're here and you look as good as you do." Now, I
Wow.
couldn't say anything or move, but I'm agreeing, you know.
Right.
Uh, right.
Right.
So,
This is the paramedic talking to you, and you got a tube in your mouth.
yes,
Wow.
yes. So, several people told me it was a miracle. Well, we knew
Yeah.
it, but they
Yeah.
were witnesses of that miracle. And I also want to go back to when Kimberly said uh, she walked out of the house and I was spitting up blood. But one of the things that stands out to me on this day is when I came home. It was a Monday. I came home after work.
Right.
Kim was in the garden, in our backyard. It was a beautiful day. I sat out there with her. We were talking, and then she walked in the house, and she was actually bringing me the phone back out because the next week we were planning a big party for my granddaughter who was going to be baptized, and I
Okay.
was supposed to speak. So it was a great day. We're just enjoying life. I wasn't praying or thinking about God, uh, and but and there was no symptoms. But my heart was had ruptured, aorta had ruptured. There were no symptoms. I wasn't in any pain. I wasn't sweating. But the fact of the matter is, this day is going on. We're living our best life, and I was literally dying and had
Wow.
no clue that I was dying.
And you didn't even
Uh,
know.
right, I had no clue, and that sticks in my mind about how when God is for us, when we're going about our life and we're living our best life, but He's right there for us,
Absolutely.
guiding us through. Because if I hadn't thrown up the blood, but if I had laid down or fell asleep, I I wouldn't have made it. So just the way the body is built, fearfully and wonderfully, it was trying to expel the blood so I could breathe. And that's when we were like, okay, yeah, I need to go to the hospital.
Right. And Kim
I want to
knew.
add
Okay.
something. I'm sorry.
Go
I want
ahead.
to add something right there too, because I left him outside. I was going to bed and he got a phone call and I knew he needed to speak to this pastor. And so when I looked at his phone, I was like, oh yeah, he needs to speak to this pastor. And I got up and brought his phone to him. And it's just all
Wow.
of these. Well, what if his phone didn't ring? What if Pastor Burt didn't call? What if this didn't happen?
Yeah.
What if that didn't happen?
Right.
There's all
Yeah.
these what ifs, but God knew. God
He
knew.
knew.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
What we would call divine synchronicity, just things
Divine
happening
synchronicity.
and just to get this result. We thank so
Well, now, come on. Divine synchronicity. I just heard when you and Candy were talking about it a couple weeks ago. So talk to us about divine synchronicity. I've never even used that term before.
some people we would what people would say before is the providence of God. Just these small things that we have no control over, but they just happen. You know, like the phone call from Pastor Burke.
Yeah.
Me getting up instead of her bringing the phone all the way out to me. If I had stayed sitting down, I believe that the blood would have just pooled. But when I stood up to walk to get the phone, the blood had to, I expelled the blood. And then, like Kimberly said, if it was just a little bit of blood, I don't know. Maybe I'll just, I'll sleep it off. I'll be all right.
Right. Right.
But
Oh
because it
my.
was so much, I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. She said, "Do you think you want to go to the hospital?" And I said, "Yes," because it was that much.
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
but even in that, it wasn't like she began to pray, or I know I didn't, because it didn't seem like a big deal. I wasn't in any
Wow.
pain. I'm walking into the hospital, the
Yeah.
first hospital. I
You walked
walked
into
in.
the first hospital.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kimberly.
I
I got in the car and she
yep.
drove us to the
I drove
hospital.
him up to the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Oh my.
I remember walking into the through the doors to go into the back to the emergency room, and that's the last thought I had.
Really?
Uh,
Okay.
yes, that's but Kimberly, the ambulance ride, that ambulance ride from the first hospital down to Lourdes, um, they stopped the ambulance because Kim was following them, and she went through a light, so they stopped, told her to stop following the ambulance. But then
Wow.
I I coded in the ambulance, and they
Oh
said they
my.
worked on me for 8 minutes. I didn't breathe,
Oh my.
but
I don't.
they were working on me in the ambulance, and then they started going again when they shocked me. Like I came back, the Lord brought me back, and
Yeah.
that's when they got me to the hospital. And then I would code over some hours in the hospital. And our pastor at the time was uh, my god brother, Mark White. And what
Okay.
she said, she was saying in my ear was, "Come on, man, you got to fight." And so he
Really?
was saying, "You got
Oh,
to
Mark
fight.
was
Come on."
absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
he
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yep.
so Mark was in that hospital room with
Mark,
you.
So
Okay.
absolutely. Mark was with me.
Kimberly,
Yes.
Kimberly must have called him also. You know,
Yeah. You called
she
people.
called him.
Okay.
Yeah, she was.
You know, that's another one that I was just like, how did he get here? Because I don't remember any phone calls. I don't remember making any phone calls.
Wow. Yes, and
But
well,
yeah,
you did. I can attest to it because you called me. So now I'm like Keisha. I thought that was the end when I got my phone call and you went off and it hung up. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah, I thought that was it. But
yeah,
but God said otherwise. And
he did.
He really
yes.
did on so many levels. Because one of the things when we once I came out of the coma, what they told Kimberly is there's nothing else we can do for him. It's been 42 days. There's nothing else we can do. We're just going to bring him out, take him off the ventilator, and see what happens.
Yep.
Oh wow. Is that what they
So
did?
Yeah.
that's what they did. And
They just
my
took
body
every
responded.
tube.
They what you say, Kim?
Oh, I'm sorry. They just took literally he had tubes everywhere on him,
Yes, yes, I
and
remember that.
they just removed everything. I came in as they were doing it, and this doctor was just like, "We've tried everything," and she said, "We're going to try this. We're just taking everything off, and we're just gonna see what happens, and we're just gonna
Wow.
go from there. Yeah, yep. And I literally watched again take everything off of him, every tube, tubes were everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
every
And then
machine
what was it, kind
gone.
of like waiting?
I'm sorry, what you said?
They were waiting for my body to respond because what they told me, uh, because of everything that had happened, because I didn't breathe for those 8 minutes in the ambulance, they wasn't sure if I was going to have brain damage because
Right.
the blood did not flow through my spinal cord for so long. They wasn't sure if I would be able to walk
Oh
because my
my.
kidneys had shut down.
Yep,
I was on dialysis. They put me
on
on
dialysis
dialysis
and
when they brought
everything.
me out because they
Did
wasn't sure
they?
if my
Oh
yes
yeah.
for
Mhm.
I think 2 weeks, two
Yeah,
weeks,
I'm sorry, I
So
didn't
two
mean to
weeks.
cut you off.
That's okay. That's
go
okay.
ahead.
Go ahead, Kim.
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut in, but yeah, he was on dialysis, and you were saying that one of the things they were saying is they didn't know if he would need permanent dialysis. They didn't
Yes.
know because his kidneys did not bounce back. I mean, his lungs did not bounce back, so they didn't
Mm.
know if the trach was going to have to stay in permanently. So it was a lot of the things that were happening to him. Oh, this is probably going to. He's probably always going to be on dialysis. He's going to have to wear trach for the rest of his life, possibly. He had to go to occupational therapy because he couldn't use his hands. He couldn't write. He couldn't eat. He couldn't brush his teeth. So he literally
Wow.
basically had to relearn everything.
Everything.
What
Everything.
those things happen because when you're laying there, of course, the muscles um, begin to deteriorate, or they call it muscle atrophy.
Yeah.
That happened. However, on the 69th day, after occupational therapy, physical therapy for 2 weeks in the hospital, I left the hospital on a walker, no
Two, two,
dialysis.
2 weeks
My
after
kids.
they unplugged everything?
It was more than
Mm,
2 weeks. It was 42 days.
Right.
So Kimberly, it was like close to what is that? 27 days after.
yeah. So
27 days.
he didn't immediately go to the rehab in the hospital, but
Right.
it was maybe a week or two after he came to,
Yes.
that he went down to rehab, and they started just all the work that they was doing on him. They just started doing all the work that they did.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then
It was
69, so it was a total of 69 days. The complete hospital stay was 69
right.
days.
Now,
So
go ahead. Go ahead, Randall.
no, go ahead, Renee. Ask a question.
I was going to say something that was going on all throughout this for people, for all the rest of us who were, Kim, you were right by Randy's side. And Randy, of course, you were in the hospital. But Kim or someone, I don't really remember who would do it, but I kind of remember like, we're praying for this organ this week, and we're praying for this, like it would, the word would get out, like to pray for certain things that maybe the doctors had said to you, or and that those things we needed to collectively pray. So I know, like, Kim, that you were dealing with all of that, but you also were still communicating it to everyone, like, you were doing those two things. And it's the only reason why I wanted to bring it up is just because I feel like when you first started talking today, and you said you were talking to God about your passion, and did you have that caregiver in you? And then you and Randy went through this life altering event. Um, but all the time in there, you were doing a lot of work also. Like Randy was going through it, but you were also doing a lot, like pulling people in, having people pray collectively. There was a lot of things that were happening that I think were, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was also a part of Randy's journey. Like, of course, you all have a testimony of a true miracle, but you pulled us in to support
There's a
them.
lot of stuff, like Like I vaguely remember that, because I know my sister was the one that would send the information out to people.
Yeah. Okay. Right. He's.
How I communicated this stuff to her, I don't actually remember exactly. And I'm gonna say this, and this is the one thing that I have talked about numerous times because this was so pivotal for me. Um, it was, and I always say I believe it was day 18, and it was a
Mm,
day I was sitting in his room by myself. Nobody was in there. And I was talking to God, and I was so frustrated because I was like, God, what is, I don't see any movement. There's nothing happening. He's not progressing. He's not doing worse, but he's not doing better. There's literally nothing happening. And I was just like frustrated. I was like, Lord, this is hard. This is difficult. I don't know what to do. And then I started saying, asking him, I said, am I praying enough? Am I
mm,
reading my word enough? Am I doing enough? Am I reaching other people? I was like, I got all these people telling me that they're praying. And are they praying, God? I'm asking God because, I'm upset. And I got,
yeah.
and so after I did that, I started laughing because God told me, and he said, I got this and I got you. And don't worry about whether other people are praying or not. You are enough and you're doing enough. And
Come
after
on.
he told me that, that's when I started laughing because I said, okay, God, I see what you're going to do now. You are going to, um, you are going to let everything break down, and you are going to be, no one's going to get your glory because you are the healer. And so when I was saying that, at the time, we already knew about his heart. We knew, but his lungs, they still would not bounce back. His lungs got worse. His kidneys, when I say they tried everything on those kidneys, they were trying around the clock 24-hour dialysis. They were trying
Wow.
everything to
Oh
get
my
those
goodness.
kidneys to come back. He has
Mm.
swelled up so big that his eyes would not close. They just popped open.
Oh
So
my
his
goodness.
eyes wouldn't close. His eyes wouldn't close. And so they told me, they said, we're gonna have to bring someone in, to a doctor, and to basically shut his eyes because it's not good for your eyes to be open like that, because closing your eyes and blinking provides moisture. So it's not good for them to just be open.
Right.
And I tell you, this is how God do. I was sitting outside in the car, and I saw this little man walking across the street, and I was like, Lord Jesus, I bet that's the ophthalmologist right there.
Are you serious?
And when I said it, because he looked like like 100-year-old man shuffling across the parking lot.
Oh my
And I was like,
goodness.
Lord Jesus, help. And when I got into the room, who was there but that little old man
Oh
putting
my
some
God.
medical glue on his eyes?
No.
And yeah. And so that lasted about an hour. He coughed and his eyes popped back open again. And so it was like one thing after another. But I
Right.
tell you, that's when after day 18, I had, for me, there was a difference in how I saw everything. There was a difference in, I don't have to be there every day. Although I was
Mm,
there every day, I don't have to be there every minute of the day. I don't have to spend the night here anymore because I
mm.
know God has him.
Oh my goodness. Day
Yeah. So
18.
day 18, God showed me. So yeah.
And
Woo.
can I interject here, Renee? And you talked about people. So many family and friends showed up.
Yeah.
They came up. They helped Kim. Kim's sister and her cousin was on a rotation, coming up from Maryland to be with her. People sent Kim
Granny.
gifts. Uh, Granny came, of course. People from her job gave her time, and then her time ticked in, so she could be off and still get paid.
Oh wow.
Here's another miracle. I'm going to throw this in right now. Another miracle is that when we left the hospital, we left debt free.
Oh
In
yeah.
America, the majority of people who go bankrupt behind medical bills.
Yes, they
Right,
do.
right.
Yeah.
That so we're like, thank you, Lord,
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
were, there was no medical bills that followed us from the hospital,
Oh
and
my
that was a
goodness.
miracle. And I want to say this too. A friend of mine, so many of my friends and family who came to the hospital, yourself and uh, ones, but a good friend of mine came up, Juan Mendez, and he was telling me how he was there one night. He was just reading the word, praying, and a
Yeah.
nurse came in and was talking to him and was saying, "Hey, who is this guy?" Because there's so many people coming and people in the hospital, and he's like, "Well, this is a good friend of ours. He's a minister. He's doing this," and she says, "I knew he was a minister, and man, this God is so real." And he said he began to just witness to her. So I was laughing with him later because it's like, man, I'm laying there in a coma and you witnessing over top of me. Okay, but
Right.
that's what the saints do. It doesn't matter.
That's what the
You'll
saints
be all
do.
right. That you'll be all right.
He'll
I
be
got a
fine.
witness right now. Right. So
Exactly.
that was
Well,
just
and plus
funny
that's the
to
kind
me.
of friends you have also. That also
Right.
Yes. Yes.
that speaks to the kind of friends you have. You guys
Yeah.
both have also. Wow, that is amazing. And I am thinking about like people who had gone to see, and I guess you had a guest book because Kim, you weren't even there. Um, even the moments that you weren't there, you were there all the time. But the moments you weren't there, and people would come through, would they
Yeah.
leave their name? Like, how did you start finding out about people coming to visit?
I think at some point I had a guest book. I want to say at some point I had a guest book, but everyone doesn't fill out the
Right,
information. And so I think
right,
it just got back to me that this person said they stopped in. And I don't know,
yeah,
like people will call me and say, "Oh yeah, so and so came to visit."
yeah,
Um yeah, I think it just we were so interconnected during this time.
yeah.
Um and that's a good word. It was interconnected because
Absolutely.
I can't even fathom. Like one of my cousins, he would just tell me, Kim, you don't have to go that early. I know you stay home and get some rest. I'll go and sit with him for a while and then you come
Right.
later. And I mean, you
Wow.
can't buy people like
You
that. You
you
can't.
you can't.
People just love. And to experience that kind of love and that kind of care, it just
Yeah.
makes you turn around and want to give that yourself, honestly.
Absolutely. I mean, even I can think about my own friends of mine because they know I'm in Georgia and you guys are up
Yeah.
there that they
Yep.
would go and visit and they
Yep.
would
Yep.
say, and I would say, "Oh, my girlfriend, she Frida came by and Frida
Mhm. Yep.
she was praying."
Yep.
Y'all are like, "Who's
Yeah.
Frida?" Like,
I know.
but people were like, not only were they were glad to do it, like it was
Yeah.
just like, yes, let me get in there, let's pray, they weren't just walking through like like y'all. Those are the kind of friends y'all have. They were
Mhm.
coming with some prayer.
Yeah,
And
They,
absolutely.
they really were. And there was a
Yeah,
few churches that told me later the church was praying for me. You
yeah,
know, you
yeah,
this is what we do. This is what the saints do. And there were just so many of our friends that told their organization, their church, to
yeah,
pray, and they did it. And we are just so grateful.
yeah,
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you know, for people thinking about you and taking their time to pray, and it's just it was needed and it was received, and
Yeah,
I thank God all the time for and tell people that we still have a God today who answers prayers, and not only that, still does miracles.
yes,
Um,
come
absolutely.
on,
that
so
yeah,
true. Miracles, they do happen, yes. And you guys got a couple of, well, many. I won't even put a number on it, but it's a miracle for you all. But all the rest of us that were in any whatever way connected. Even that ambulance driver, I'm sure we just don't know how our lives affect other people and the things that you go through and how you go through it. So yeah, so I this is a lot. Like I know that this is just a part of your story. I mean, Cam, you really took us to a cold stop at day 18. I want to say, now that from day 19, and to say that day 18, and you were still in a coma, Randy, for
Yep.
40
Yep.
42 days, so like 21 or 2 more days you were still in the coma, but there was so many moving parts, like I was the things that were going on, that we're going to just stop here, because we know, unless you guys have a little bit more. I'm gonna ask one more question today. Thankfully, this is, believe it or not, y'all, this is a 6-part series, and we are today on part 3 of 6. So there's 2 parts, and I just want to pause and tell everyone that you can go back to parts 1 and 2, listen to Randy telling, he will recount his medical emergency of his own for himself. But and then last week Randy talked about the Lazarus Project, the recovery project that he and Kim have founded and are running and have been running for the last 4 years. And today we got to get a part of the journey from Kim's eyes and Kim's perspective. And both of you have such a powerful perspective of this, because you both walked it in different ways. So it's funny, Randy, to hear you say, well, wait, the reason why they were packing up the bags is like, well, Kim was, so it's like you guys are filling in the gaps or the pieces of the story to make the story, whole. And I know um, there's more to be told. So we're going to um, pause at this minute, and hopefully next week you guys will come back for part 4. And Kim, you will finish your journey from day 18 forward, and Randy, you will also be a part of that journey. But I want to stop, and I always want to ask this question and give you a little time to say, out of, and tell me if I'm saying this wrong, but out of your journey with this incident was birthed the Lazarus Project. Would you say it like that?
Hmm.
I, I believe, in a sense, yes. Let me just answer your question. Yes, because when I left the hospital in July, I was out of work until 2023. So I had time to, once it dawned on me that I need to allow my body to rest. I need to give myself time instead of trying to push to get back into shape, get back out onto the workforce. So when I did that, when I gave myself time to actually stop and begin to think about life, who I was, what Christ wanted me to do, what life was really about. I gave myself time to really sit and contemplate these things with clarity. Uh, and from that clarity, I didn't think about the Lazarus Project, but what I knew is that I wanted to move from going to service to connecting with a
In
community
service,
center.
you mean in church?
Excuse me, church. I didn't want to do church as I had been doing it. I wanted to take what God had given me, uh, ministry, ability, the message, and go to where people were at. I knew that that's what I wanted. And it wasn't until we got to the community center, connected, and began to minister that they asked us, what platform would you want to do? And that's when it's like, well, I want to meet. We're dealing with these type of all types of people. I want to meet them right where they are, and that's where the Lazarus Project Recovery Program was birthed. Once I actually once me and Kimberly actually got out into the street and began to minister with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
Kim, this is something that you also, side by side, you guys had started going to the community center together. You guys were
we
working
did.
in the
Yeah.
community.
hmm we
Go ahead.
did, and I will say for me, I didn't know that the Lazarus Project was what would come from this. I had been on a healing journey for myself, so I had been on like maybe this 3 year healing journey prior to 2022. So when 2022 happened, it kind of everything sort of crashed into everything because I had been on this healing journey anyway. And so when creating the Lazarus Project, and when I can't even tell you how quickly it just came together. They asked, what would you like to do? And we were just like, in the next week, we were like, here's our program. We would like to do this. And I
Wow.
mean, it just was so, all I can say is God did it because it was just so, we just walked right into it. And my healing journey, I can say, just coincided with the Lazarus Project because it wasn't like I was doing like a 12-step principles in my journey, but all the principles applied to me.
Mm,
And you can't give somebody something that you don't have. And so we were walking this journey out
okay,
ourselves. So that
that's
then,
good.
okay, now, okay, Lord, here we are. Now we can give
Right.
this to somebody else.
That is so good. And just to speak to the Lazarus Project right here, because we're gonna come back next week for part four. But the Lazarus Project is a recovery project that you all run. That is an in-person and online program. And do you want to, tell us a little bit about that and where people can find you?
The Lazarus Project is a Lazarus Project recovery program. What we do is we took biblically based steps from 12 Steps for Christians, Celebrate Recovery, other concepts, and we created, from the traditional step, we created 12 principles that cover a multitude of issues in a peer to peer safe uh, group. And it is open to everyone. You don't have to be saved to belong because in this recovery program, we also incorporate discipleship. We had people from the community that didn't know God, but we were able to answer questions that they came in with. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and we have our website, which is the underscore LazarusProject.com. It has all of our information and how to connect with us. Um, and our phone number is up out there also.
Our in person is located at Cathedral of Love Church at 139 Beverly Rancocas Road in Willingboro, New Jersey. And we meet every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So that was a lot today. I'll be honest. You guys are sharing like amazing. And then to say now you are pouring into others. I want to just give you a way to close off your thought today and say, tell me, after everything, and I know we haven't talked about everything yet, but after everything you've been through, when you look at your life today, what are you most grateful for? And what gives you hope for tomorrow? And you both can answer.
Renee, you got some loaded questions. Okay.
Sorry.
What is the greatest?
Oh, gosh.
I, I believe what gives us hope for tomorrow, one of the phrases that we use at the Lazarus Project is recovery is the process, Jesus is the answer. So if there's any one point that we want to get people to understand, is that the same Jesus that they saw go up, ascend into heaven, the angel told them this same Jesus will come back again. That's in the future. So that same Jesus is here today. So there is real hope. There is real healing, from trauma, from issues, from grief, from depression. There is real hope in Christ. But here's the process to lay off your will, lay your will down at his feet and get the actual help that you need to get healing. Because we also say from this group, there are people who've gone on to get Christian counselors, Christian therapists,
Yes.
because they begin to see and examine themselves that they need more. And that also gives us hope that we are a doorway to examine yourself to get all of the help that you possibly need. So
Right.
that's what gives me hope is that we serve the true and the living God, and there's hope for everyone.
I don't know if I'm going to answer this question the right way, but I will
There's no right
say,
way.
okay, even in trauma, we don't get through it, but we become resilient in it. And so we don't try to, um, this was hard. This was hard. This was long. And it was a journey. But it was a journey that God walked with me hand in hand. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. I would not. And as hard as it was, I'm not saying I want to relive it. I'm not saying that at all. But
Right.
just knowing the God that we serve, the God that said he will never leave us nor forsake us, that in and of itself, like, I don't care where you are, God is right there with you. That's amazing to me. That is amazing that, yeah. And again, we don't get through trauma. We become resilient in it, and we don't let trauma define us
Hmm.
also.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
And
Amazing.
hopefully, we'll also talk about in 2023 the 2 weeks Kim took in Paris to decompress. That always helps if you can do it.
You got
So
a little
I
hater.
don't
Is that a little haterade coming out
I
at the
don't need
end?
I
not
don't need
not
it
at
to
all.
be a
Not
part
because what
of
I said
this.
here,
That sounds like a
here
little jealousy.
no, not at all. Because here's what I said when I was in the coma. Well, I'll talk about that. I had some dreams, but I was laying there in a coma. Kim was
Right.
awake every
Yeah,
single day,
yeah,
Yes.
right? And this is another. I'm going to go back to the Lazarus Project. When people live with people, like a parent or a loved one has an addiction, and you're clean and sober, living with all of that trauma in the house, you need to be able to talk to someone to get
yeah,
that out also. So you have to find a way. She, I'm glad that she went to decompress that way also from the trauma that she walked through while I was going through. So,
And yeah, that is again to me, it's and I'm just gonna say this. I feel like him when you were able to because they said you knew he needed to rest, go to sleep, and you were like, that means I need to go
yeah,
and go to sleep. So I think it's powerful. And yes, let's talk about Paris. Let's talk about the fact that people don't, they go through something so harsh, so traumatic, and they don't stop. Like Randy, you talked about resting and not rushing back in. And Kim, you went to Paris. I just think these are also part of the recovery journey, a part of moving through life and not letting life just run you down.
yeah.
yeah.
And I love that
So
part
true.
about you both. I love that about you guys. And I know that people love it about you too because many people are benefiting from the fact that you guys not only went through something very traumatic, but you, like you said earlier, don't talk about something that you haven't done or walked through yourself. And I have a friend, Alicia, she always says, be a product of the product. Like you are not dishing out something that you yourself do not know. You literally are saying that this is where we have been and this is how we walk. So I love it. I'm looking. You already got me looking forward to next week. I'm excited about it. But to everyone listening today, if you're walking through something difficult right now, I want you to remember this. You may not get to choose what happens to you, but you can choose what you do with what happens to you. So, um, as listening to today, I believe people are finding hope and they're finding that, hey, there's work to be done and we can do it for ourselves. Um, and I want to thank everybody for listening and thank you for being a part of this conversation. Thank you, Kim and Randy, for being a part of this conversation. Did you all? I think you all have said so much. I don't want to cut you off if you have something else to say. But
Don't wait till next week.
No, I'm
okay,
good.
okay. So until next week, remember your hardest chapter may be part of your story, but it doesn't have to be the end of it. Keep going, keep healing, keep choosing hope. See you guys next week.
All right.
Bye.
Hold on, guys.